It is time to chase here at Chicagoland Speedway. Good evening, race fans, and welcome to LSRTV and tonight's broadcast of round one of the chase for the Full Throttle Cup here for the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series from Chicagoland Speedway. I'm Jacob Seelman alongside my broadcast partner, Evan Pasoko. Evan, certainly a lot of things to get ready to talk about tonight. The chase, obviously, on everybody's mind. 16 drivers set to do battle. Only one will claim the Full Throttle Cup.
Yeah, we've had 22 races to this point, and yeah, it's fun to see who can walk away at the end of the night in victory lane. But this is really what all these drivers have been waiting for. Some of the positions came down to the very final laps at Richmond last week. The 16 drivers are set, and we're looking for a good race here at Chicagoland tonight to get it all started off.
It's getting ready to get started off, and obviously the 16 drivers competing for the championship are the ones we'll be keeping our eyes most closely on. Of course, Eric Brundys leads the charge, 4 wins on the regular season, getting ready to roll. And I'll tell you, this has been a fun year to be Eric Brundys. He has dominated. He had a triple-digit lead in the championship standings, and boy, for all the things that he's done this year, he comes into this chase right now. We're going through qualifying. He's third on the grid as it stands at this moment, but Brundys seems to be the one, just like Brad Keselowski was over the weekend, with all the cards in his pocket.
Yeah, Brundys has been so solid. Not only, again, and we talked about this, as he not only been the car that's gone to victory lanes the most times, but he has been so consistent, racking up double-digit top 5s, double-digit top 10s on the season. If you do win, you're going to get that bot in the next round, but consistency is also going to have to play a factor in here if you want to be able to advance and be in that top 4 there at the end at Homestead.
Yeah, and it all comes down to Homestead, but right now 16 drivers have a shot at it, and we're not going to spend our time and breath to do it. We're just going to take you right now through a look at who the 16 drivers that are chasing this year's Full Throttle Cup are right now. And there you look at it, all 16 drivers who are competing for this year's Full Throttle Cup in the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series, just getting set to wrap Group Open qualifying. And Evan, what it looks like I'm seeing right now is we have got a non-chaser of all things on the pole. You talk about spoilers, that's going to be one of the storylines we'll be keeping an eye on tonight. Oh, and just as I say that, it changes. I thought Matt Lacrosse had it. 3/1000ths of a second, though, as they get set to wrap it up. 29.075. Give the provisional top spot to Adam Benefiel. A chaser comes to play.
Yeah, we have been watching here in this 15-minute open qualifier, some positions changing, and literally with about 20 seconds to go, Adam Benefiel is going to get it by 3/1000ths. He's shown us speed. He was second fastest in practice, and the red flag's going to fly. He'll get it up at the top of the board, the 85 on pole.
So Benefiel gets the top spot. Chase leader Eric Brundys qualifies 4th. Some of the other chasers in the top 10. Thomas J. George 5th, Rhett McBride 6th, CJ LaVere in the 4th. The fly-in 4 starts 9th, Jonathan Cadell 10th. That's a few of our chasers. Evan, let's go down the starting grid. We just talked about him. A lap of 29.075. Adam Benefiel on the pole. Matt Lacrosse in the number 21 starting his outside tonight.
Newcomer to the series, the number 20 Chevrolet David Comstock out of the Cody Bias Racing Stables. He'll be starting in third. Eric Brundy's at 94 is going to be starting up in P4. That's the outside row number 2.
Row 3 is an all-chase row. Thomas J. George in the 1 to the inside. Move up a number. Rhett McBride in the 2. Rolls 6th to his outside.
Mitch Rolo, the Jeg Chevrolet, is going to take up P7. That's the inside row number 4. Alongside him in 8th is going to be Jamie Pitts.
Starting 9th tonight, two more chasers in row number 5. C.J. Lavere on the inside, and 10th to his outside, the 11, Jonathan Cadell.
Chase driver Nathan Little, the number 41 machine, will roll off at the inside of row 6. That's P11 for him. Alongside him, Brian Harvey, the double 6 car, will start in 12th.
Starting 13th, yet another chaser. Scott Stenzel to his outside, the 58 of two-time season winner, Justin Wilson.
Steve Gottschalk rocking a retro Pepsi scheme on his Chevrolet. He'll roll off 15th. Alongside him, Dan Murray, the number 55 chase driver, in 16th.
Another chaser, 17th, the 29 of Brennan Mercer to his outside. One of the all-time winningest drivers in this series, with 18 of them. The number 60, John Higman Jr., surprisingly not in this year's chase.
Row number 10 is going to be Brandon Peterson on the inside. The 78 Denver Mattress Machine rolls off at 19th. And Mark Bratcher, the 46, going to round out the top 20 in the Salute Machine.
Row 11, John Abbott in the 10, and L. Bryce Whitson Jr. in the 00, and behind them in row number 12, the 48 of Kevin Linden, the 69 of Corbin Hemstreet.
Jose Gonzalez going to roll off in 25th. 26th going to be Scott Simley. Keith Brooks Jr. will roll off 27th, and 28th going to belong to Jason Lester.
29th tonight, the 43 of Doug Roth, and 30th, the number 30 of J. Randall Watkins. 31st tonight goes to James Robinson, and 32nd, making his return to the series, LD Sarabia in the number 3.
Sherry Ann Mills, last car to post the qualifying time, going to roll off 33rd. 34th, Michael Woolley. Rich Jett, 35th. 36th, going to be Ed Williams Jr. John Wilco, 37th. And 38th, going to be Stephen Herring, Jacob, rounding out the field.
It's a large field tonight. That could play havoc with some of these championship contenders. It also means you need to stay out of trouble, because you can take a massive hit in the championship standings tonight, and you dig yourself a hole early here at Chicagoland. Basically, from that point on, you've got to be focused on winning, and that is what all of these drivers tonight are focused on, because if one of the chasers wins, they automatically advance to the contender round. This, race 1, the Challenger round, kicking off at Chicagoland Speedway. We're glad you're tuning in tonight with us here on LSRTV as the iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car hits pit road, green flag in the air. We're underway from Chicagoland for 180 laps, and Adam Benefiel is on the march.
First side-by-side battle is going to be for second. The 20 of Comstock to the bottom on the 20 of Matt Lacrosse. That's going to go in 1 and 2. And the Monster Energy Chevrolet with relative ease on the bottom is going to get that spot now. The 94 of Eric Brundy's want some of it. Looks like the 21 of Lacrosse going to hang on to it on the outside. And the top 5 will single file out into 3 and 4.
This is very much a momentum track. If you can roll on the high lane, you can make some progress, but usually, at least for the first couple laps of a run, it is going to be all on the bottom of the racetrack. 120 laps, the race distance, 180 miles here at Chicagoland Speedway. So this is not exactly a short race, but the laps can go very quickly, about 30 seconds or so, 29 seconds a lap. As right now, we were talking about in the Monster Chevrolet, David Comstock. You know, a non-chaser, we haven't talked a lot about him because we didn't think a non-chaser would have a shot to win one of these races, but hello, David Comstock. He seems to right now have Adam Benefiel's number. It is just a car length for the race lead. That's in turn 2.
Yeah, they're going to start to close in out of 2 down the back straightaway. Position change as Matt Lacrosse hangs on the third with the 94 of Brundy's got sideways off the corner. They hang on, and Brundy's has company with Thomas J. George, but that battle up front sits right now at about 3 car lengths. Again, Comstock was showing the speed. He was fastest in practice session, 3rd fastest in qualifying, had a couple of fast laps, and right now using that draft down the front straightaway to try to close in on Benefiel down into 1.
Down into 1 they go. It is still just about 1 car length between these top 2, and right now the top 5 seem to be, as I think Comstock may have brushed the wall a little bit off turn number 2. We'll try and get an angle on it here in a minute, but he was awfully close. And the thing is, though, Evan, that's the fast way around this racetrack. You have literally got to be rim riding, or you are not going to make any time.
Now he barely got it off the corner. Now we're going to go side by side for the lead. Comstock to the bottom, through and clear. Benefield on the high side is going to let that 20 by. Does he give him a shot back on exit? Try the crossover. He has a nose to the inside. He's going to work that run up to the left rear. Not enough momentum. Look at that 20. Power away from it. Down the back straightaway and down to the corner. David Comstock, the Monster Energy Machine, to P1.
Looks awful similar to another Monster Energy Machine that dominated on Saturday in Chicagoland. Right now, Comstock looks every bit as good as his counterpart Kyle Busch did on Saturday afternoon in the nationwide race. Busch didn't win that race, but right now, Comstock out in front. He led lap 5, trying to continue that, but Benefield closes right back in on him and takes a look to the inside in 3.
It's going to be a car length down into 3 and 4 once again. A little bit of discussion amongst the top 5 drivers. We're actually going to go side by side for P4. Thomas J. George, it'll utilize that apron, goes down there at the stripe. He had P4. He's side by side with Brundys. He will get clear. The Snap-on Chevrolet up the 4th. Brundys will cycle back to 5th. Uncharacteristic. Eric Brundys normally making moves early in the race. Sits P5 right now. Now trouble back in the pack. We've got a caution.
Yellow flag flies at lap number 7, and that's going to slow the pace for the first time with Comstock, your leader. He was pulling away from Benefield, but Evan, you had eyes on it. What happened over there? It looked like it involved the 26 Jose Gonzalez.
Yeah, that's one of those situations where one of the cars was down there utilizing the apron, and that was at the stripe coming from 6 going over to 7. Jose was on the apron, and he went to blend back up on a racetrack as the replay is going up right now. The 78 of Brandon Peterson was just riding his own line, not anticipating the 26 to come up, and Jose just got into his left rear. It looked like they were both initially going to save it. 78 overcorrected a little bit. The 43 is going to get a piece of that damage, and he'll be able to drive away from it, but the 78 went into the fence. The 7 machine, an innocent bystander. Looks like the 3, the 30, picking up some forms of damage. The 13 machine of Michael Woolley in it as well. So a good handful of cars. Look at that 26 of Jose Gonzalez trying to get to his pit stall here under the caution flag. That thing's driving at about a 30-degree angle.
Yikes, that is not what you want to be doing. How about this? A lot of guys peeling off to pit road early. Comstock stays out. Brundys stays out, moves to P2, just 7 laps into this, but the leaders having her on pit road.
They're coming down for service. Brandon Peterson going to dump Jose Gonzalez under the caution flag. That's in 3 and 4. A little bit of payback for what brought out the yellow, as those two guys again are fighting pretty much in 3 and 4. But Adam Benefield can lead him down into the stall again. He has the advantage of having that #1 pit stall, so he'll have the best shot at leading it off pit road. All but 3 cars came down. Do we see any 2-tire strategy early? It's going to be 4 tires for Benefield, 4 tires for Matt Lacrosse, and a race off pit road. The 60 machine, look at that. Out of nowhere for the back of the pack. Imagine that's going to be a little bit of a tire strategy. John Higman Jr., 2-tire call. He'll be the first car off pit road.
How many times have we talked about John Higman Jr. having an uncharacteristic season, but trying to do whatever he can just to get a win? Tied for 2nd on the all-time list in RSR competition, and I smell some... I think Higman might smell some blood in the water, thinking if he can get up and maybe spoil one of these chasers' parties, it would be all about him for the night. Well, he's going to have a little bit of traffic to work through because we did have some guys stay out right here, but boy, the biggest thing under that caution, Evan, in 3 and 4 coming to pit road, we saw a little bit of retaliation. You know, we talk about tempers and we talk about drivers who don't have anything to lose. Brandon Peterson really doesn't, but Jose Gonzalez certainly does. He's in this chase for the championship.
Yeah, and obviously not happy with that, because after 3 races, 4 of these guys going to be cut. And Peterson, his night is, for all intent and purposes, done. He's behind the wall. He's no longer on the racetrack. So a mistake by Jose Gonzalez, both those guys being chase drivers, could have just costed both of them their shots at a championship, because neither of them are on the racetrack right now. And there's not a lot of room for error with only 3 races. So, I mean, 5 laps into this chase, Jacob, 2 of our guys may be out of this already, essentially.
And we're going to be talking about it all night long. Who's in, who's out, who's digging themselves a hole. Obviously, nobody's out of it until we get done at Dover, because it's all about winning. If you win, you punch your ticket to the next round. But quickly, though, we're seeing a couple of these guys that are going to have pretty big deficits to dig out of, and all the while we talk about guys who could spoil the party. David Comstock's up there. He is spoiling the party right now for the Chasers by leading this race in the Monster Chevrolet. Eric Brundy's rides second. Another Chaser who's having a solid run so far, Nathan Lill in third. Higman, the first of the cars to pit, is fourth. Adam Benefield fifth. Matt Lacrosse, Thomas J. George, Brennan Mercer up to eighth. Maybe a little bit of tire strategy on his 29 machine. Mitch Rollo, Rhett McBride, the rest of the top 10.
Yeah, if you look specifically at those top 5 guys, the top 3 did not come down pit road. John Higman Jr. won that battle off in his Eaton Construction Ford, so he'll be on 2 tires. He'll be starting 4th, and then Benefield, who was the first car off on 4 tires, going to be 5th with Matt Lacrosse, Thomas J. George, and company. So about 4 or 5 chase guys there, all packed together. But again, David Comstock, who is not a factor in this chase for the championship. In fact, he's not even a factor for the rest of the guys that are trying to battle for points that are beyond 16th, because making his first start here, and he's obviously showing he's got some speed. He is sitting right now in P1. We're going to have to see how that tire degradation will fare out. We only got about a handful of laps before those guys came down, so it'll be interesting to see, and this can be used as a testament to what these guys are going to do down the road later in the race. They're going to take a look at a guy like John Higman Jr. or those top 3 that stayed out and see how well their tires held up on how long of a run, which can get these guys scheming for a late race restart if it comes down to that.
The mind games have begun, and they're going to continue all the way through the rest of this chase. But right now, the lights are out on the iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car, and the field is doubled up in turn 3. We are about ready to throw this back to the green flag, and as we go back to the green flag, we're going to ride on board with the number 94 Shell Pennzoil Ford Fusion of Eric Brundy's. Here we go down to the stripe, waiting on it, green flag in the air. We're back underway. David Comstock, Brundy's trying to fall in line. He will, but Benefield going to be the one 3 wide to the inside on fresh tires in 1.
Yeah, Nathan Little's the one going backwards. He'll drop back through the middle. Now it's going to be side by side. Benefield on the bottom. The 60 John Higman Jr. up top. That 60 going to try to use the run off of corner number 2. He gets a nose there at the right rear, but cannot complete that pass. And now Benefield will clear him down into 3 and 4. Top 2 separated by 2.5 cars.
2.5 car lengths right now, but I'll tell you, Adam Benefield's the one that's going to be charging as we got 1 car. I think Thomas J. George, the Snap-on Chevrolet, diving down to the apron of the racetrack, or maybe that was Matt Lacrosse. The 2 cars painted very similarly. I think it was actually Lacrosse that dove down all the way almost to the grass trying to go after Thomas J. George, but down the back straightaway, Comstock, who still leads it, they are getting eaten up by Adam Benefield. It was half a second last time by, and it is closing rapidly. It's about to be a 6-car freight train for the lead.
Yeah, still Comstock, that time by the number 1 spot. Brundy's has been able to secure the gap that he's been sitting at, but look at Brundy's through the middle of 1 and 2. He's tracing the line of the 94 Shell Pennzoil Ford, as you mentioned, Eric. Brundy's top 5. Single file, but pretty much bumper to bumper, as they're all separated by a mere 0.8 of a second, now into 3 and 4. The 85, expect him to try to make a move here. He's got a little bit of a run. Does he utilize all that apron space? He thinks about it. He'll go down to the white line, not going to make a move on the straightaway. He'll wait for the 94 to blend up. Does he look inside? Not this time. Benefield will still ride 3rd.
Problem is, John Higman Jr. is breathing down the back bumper of that 85. Now Benefield takes another look to the inside. He's got the quarter panel there, side by side for the runner-up position. Does he go for the lead in turn 3? Yes, he does. He is trying to get the 2-for-1 special, is Adam Benefield, and he'll go to the point off turn 4. Here at lap number 15, new leader Adam Benefield.
Comstock not giving up on the outside lane, and now he'll back off, try to get in line as Benefield will clear him into the corner. The 94 of Brundy's is clear for 3rd. We're side by side for P4. The 60 is going the wrong direction. He's stuck at the outside. That's John Higman Jr. As it's Thomas J. George, the Snap-on Chevrolet, trying to make a move. He's on the inside, has half a car length down into the corner. 60 is going to dive in line behind him. So give Thomas J. George that number 4 spot. Slides up a little bit off the corner. Do we see a crossover? He'll go down and try to protect that position, but that 60 machine is going to go all the way down to that apron and nearly to the grass. Does he hold it inside line down into the corner? Yes, he does. Going to go back at it for 4th.
Higman, though, I think is going to lose that battle as the one of Thomas J. George to the outside takes the spot back, and now the battle for the lead's heating up in turn number 3. The 20 of Comstock closing back in a little bit on the 85 of Adam Benefiel. He's trying to hang in there on no tires, as is Eric Brundy's. The track position ploy for those two working right now, but the 85 Toyota, Adam Benefiel, one of the chase drivers, leads this race in turn number 2 with now 18 laps complete.
Yeah, it's hard to refer to Adam Benefiel as a dark horse. When you talk championship, the names you're going to think are the guys with the most wins. He is sitting on 2 trips to victory lane, Benefiel that is, so that's tied for second most. But that team has really shown a lot of speed here, Jake, in the last few weeks. It is really rolling on that momentum, and that's what's got him up at that number 1 spot. They have the speed. They're not letting go of it. He's opened up now 2 tenths over Comstock in 1 and 2.
Yeah, and it's a good thing that these two have opened up because it's a hornet's nest behind them. Brundy's is hooked on the outside lane with nowhere to go. Thomas J. George is through for 3rd. John Higman's trying to go through for the 4th spot. Brundy's is in a tough position because it is a 4-car melee scramble for that 3rd position off of turn number 4. We're coming to complete 19 laps, and these guys are racing like it's the white flag.
Yeah, the 21 of Lacrosse nearly slides up in front of Eric Brundy's, utilizing again that apron. He'll get the position. Look at the 96 trying to do something on the outside. That's Mitch Rollo. The Jag Chevrolet off the corner is going to be about even speed with the 21 of Matt Lacrosse. He'll be door-to-door with Brundy's as they battle it out for position at number 6. The 94 is going to be able to hang on to it here in 3 and 4. To the bottom goes Rollo, the crossover at a corner number 4, down all the way to the yellow line, nearly gets some grass. Is Mitch Rollo. That'll kind of kill his speed. He'll drop back to 6th. But Eric Brundy's, I mean, he's showing some relative speed, but he has slipped back to P5, guys. Or 6th, rather.
Yeah, he has, and I'm really shocked at that. I'm actually looking a little bit further back in the field. There's another hornet's nest around 12th, 13th place. L. Bryce Whitson Jr., the 00, Brennan Mercer, the 29, the 58 of Justin Wilson. They're all going at it side by side for position now. Just ahead of them is one of our chase drivers, Nathan Little, in the 11th position in that 41 car. But Scott Stenzel now takes a look to the inside of Mercer in the 42, and the 99 of Jamie Pitts in this as well. Yikes, it is a mess back here.
Yeah, there's a lot of good racing going on all throughout the field. We have a pass back in the pack as Brendan Mercer going backwards, rather. He's towards the tail end of that battle you mentioned for 12-13 on the 58 of Justin Wilson. Has P13 right now. It's the 42 of Scott Stenzel. Not in the yellow stripes car this week, because the Mittler Brothers Chevrolet on track, and he rides 14th. He was all over the back bumper of Wilson that time down the front straightaway, and Justin's able to pull some ground in 1 and 2. But Scott continuing to try to make up ground. He sits 14th right now. He started in 13th, so trying to work his way back up to the field.
Yeah, and you know, another guy that I think could play a spoiler here as this chase continues, he ran very, very strong in the top 5 the entire race, just about until he ran into some trouble at Richmond, is L. Bryce Whitson Jr. in the 00 machine. That car has looked really solid the last couple weeks, and if he can catch some brakes just right, I wouldn't be surprised to see the 00 contend maybe for a top finish or even a win in these next 10 races, because he has really turned up the wick.
Tell you, Benefield's checking out right now. 7/10 of a second plus over David Comstock down into the corner. Thomas J. George is trying to hold on to the gap that he has over the 20, but the 20's starting to pull away from him, so Thomas J. George has to worry about John Hickman Jr. behind him. How about John Hickman Jr. also doing a solid job right now as he rides around P4. He's been applying the pressure to Thomas since the drop of the green flag, since that most recent restart, but it looks like these guys may be starting to creep in on that 20 of Comstock, who's sliding backwards.
Yeah, he is. Thomas J. George coming on the march, and I think this, Evan, is where we start to say, as we sit down the service, the tires start to hit a cliff here, and if you're on older tires, you get to a point where you just can't do with them anymore what you've been doing with them, and you start falling back in a hurry, and I can't help but wonder if that's maybe what's starting to happen to David Comstock, to Eric Brundy's, who's fallen back to a battle for 6th now with Mitch Rollo, the 96. The Jags machine's starting to come forward, and even Rhett McBride is starting to make up ground on some of these guys in the top 7. So really the only one that we've seen that's been able to hang up there on lesser tires is the 60 of John Hickman Jr. right now, who runs in 4th.
A little bit of contact back in the pack. The 58 of Justin Wilson slid low and slid up and nearly caught off that 41 machine at Nathan Little. Everything is fine from there on out. Side by side's going to go at it for P11. Scott Stenzel trying to get L. Bryce Whitson Jr. So that Miller Brothers Chevrolet Stenzel is moving forward down on the inside lane. But we're side by side for P number 2 off quarter number 2. It's Thomas George to the bottom and David Comstock, the Monster Energy Chevrolet, who looked so fast in those opening laps. Now once we approach lap 30, starting to fall back.
Yeah, he is, and it may cost him not just second, but it may cost him... Ooh, he slides down in front of John Igman Jr. I started to say it might cost him third as well, but boy, Comstock made a hole where I didn't think there was one, and he's trying to fight back against the Snap-on Chevrolet, but now I think he's going to start to fall off down the back straightaway. That straight line speed not there, and here comes Igman to the inside for third.
He rode the back bumper of Thomas J. George there down the front straightaway, gave him a little bit of tap on entry. Could have been a curious piece of contact there. The one was able to hang on to it, no issue. 20 drop back, and now at the stripe, John Hickman Jr. is going to get that position. So Comstock sliding back again on those older tires. So this is what the drivers are going to use to gauge if we see a caution later on in the race. They're going to be using these guys as an example to see how long they were able to hang on to it and if that run is going to work for them. Meanwhile, the 94 machine continues to go the wrong direction. Eric Brundy is going to be passed by Rhett McBride. McBride to the inside has half a car length over him. He will have the preferred lane at a 4. 94 is going to get a little bit of a run, but we have to anticipate Rhett McBride is going to clear him right here down into quarter number 1. So, I mean, you have to be pretty solid when we consider P8 a rough night, but Eric Brundy is going, again, the wrong direction. Stuck on that outside lane. Next car to get at him is going to be Jonathan Cadell for P9.
Yeah, I think this long run is really where it's going to kill Eric Brundy's, David Comstock. This is where you start to fall back in a hurry, and now Brundy's is under attack from the Coca-Cola machine. The 4 of C.J. LeVere now trying to come forward as well. So Brundy's really quickly is looking at the backside of the top 10, and he is now in ninth, 4.3 seconds off the leaders. Of course, that's a little bit deceiving because Adam Benefield's still out in front by almost a second and a half.
Yeah, C.J. LeVere is another one of those guys that can use his consistent runs to keep on moving up in this chase, advance a couple of rounds. He entered as the 9th seed, sitting on only 1 win, but he's good at running right around that number 10 position, which can get you through these first handful of rounds. But yeah, Eric Brundy's just going the wrong direction. Again, started in 4th. He sits 9th right now, and again, you could imagine if this green flag run continues, he may lose even more. But the top 3 have really checked out, even maybe top 4. Matt Lacrosse, Mitch Rollo, the next closest battle for 5th and 6th positions. That's about a 2-car length differential into the corner. Now, what a great run for Mitch Rollo through 3 and 4. Straight flying. He's going to go to the apron, and he'll go side by side for P5. That's with Matt Lacrosse in the 1.
And I have to say, I didn't expect this out of the 96 of Mitch Rollo. This is a very impressive run. Lacrosse trying to come back on him down the back straightaway. But we talk about spoilers. There's 2 of them in the frame right there, in the 96 and the 21. But I'll tell you, there's another guy in that frame that's moving forward, and it's the number 2, the deuce of Rhett McBride. He is on the march, takes that spot away from Matt Lacrosse to move into P number 6 now, and he is going to go to work on chasing the 96 of Mitch Rollo. McBride wants to be the one to take this fight to Eric Brundy's, and right now, the number 2 man in the championship, he's doing just that. He is in 6th, and Brundy's has fallen all the way back to 10th.
Yeah, McBride did a smart move there. He almost used that 96 of Mitch Rollo as a pick on Matt Lacrosse. Lacrosse was behind the 96 down into 3, 2 shot to the bottom, and that 21 kind of got caught off on the outside lane. So, however, the 96 who was in front of him was able to take the normal arc. 21 got forced up to the outside lane, so a smart and calculated move for Rhett McBride. That's going to get him up to P6, and he is closing on Mitch Rollo. That will be the battle for position number 5. Update on the gap for the lead. It has gone down to 1.2 seconds as Thomas J. George, the Snap-on Chevrolet, trying to make up some ground, and scoring get update this time by. We'll see the differential on that. Thomas J. George going to pick up a little bit of time, 2 100ths, but it's still 1.2 seconds between the top 2.
but I think that's telling. I think it's starting to tell us that there is somebody that can take the fight to Adam Benefiel when the time is right. We're just past quarter distance here, working lap number 37 of 120 tonight here at Chicagoland Speedway. It's round one of the chase for the RSR Full Throttle Cup. Jacob Seelman and Evan Pasocco here in the broadcast booth, and we're starting to see this string out just a little bit, and I think right now we're seeing Adam Benefiel assert himself, Evan, as the dominant car here in tonight's Garry Mercer Trucking 180, but I'll tell you, Thomas J. George is not done with this championship, and there's been a lot of guys this season who I think have wanted to take the fight to Eric Brundys, but the 94 built up a championship margin too quickly, and they've not had the room to capitalize until now.
Yeah, the points after Richmond was a 100-point-plus gap from championship leader Eric Brundys on back. That's all gone now. He does have a 6-point lead entering tonight via the 4 wins versus the 2 wins from Rhett McBride and company in the championship standings, but I don't think you can count Brundys out either. He is sliding back right now. I'm sure he can get 4 tires on that and make it a show towards the end. But we have seen races like Richmond where Eric Brundys would go out and dominate. We've also seen races where Adam Benefiel would go out and dominate. So you almost want to kind of consider it a Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards style battle. Will we see these two guys kind of run away with it? Will one of them go to victory lane a handful of times? Because they have both shown that they're able to run out, dominate these races, and run up front and really have no competition. So Thomas J. George is balanced out in second. He still sits 1.2 back. That's going to be the differential. So Thomas is even with Adam right now in a long run. Interesting to see how long this green flag stretch will go out, which could, again, severely affect strategy as battle going on. It's a 2 of Rhett McBride trying to get around Mitch Rollo as that goes on in 3 and 4. The 20 of David Comstock there as well. It is for P4.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, this battle's been going on for about a lap or 2, and the 96 of Rollo tried to take a peek to the middle groove of the racetrack. They were coming up to past the lap car of Doug Roth right there, the 43 machine, and now everybody will go single file to the inside. So lap traffic starting to play an issue here at lap number 42 as Roth getting lapped right here. We've still got about 28 cars or so on the lead lap, but look at Rhett McBride just continue to move forward. He's up to the 4th position. The problem is the 3 guys ahead of him, there's about 2.5 seconds between Rhett McBride and the next guy he has to pass, John Hickman Jr. in 3rd. Meanwhile, Thomas J. George closing in on the lead just a little bit more. It's now down to 1.1 seconds, Evan.
He's picking up a couple hundredths here and there. Both the top 2 running 30.0s. John Hickman Jr. in 3rd running the 30.1s. And a really fast lap. Rhett McBride's flying a 29.9, fastest lap on the racetrack the last time by, only by a 10th. It is a lot in racing. People say a 10th of a second, but to be fair, that is a fairly substantial gap of nearly 4 seconds from him to Adam Benefiel. That's a lot to make up on a green flag run, especially because we're well into it. It's not right off the start of when he doesn't have a lot of time to work with it. Pit stops are going to have to start to come into these drivers' minds, which could, again, play dividends in that. Throw a curveball into it if anybody wants to short pit, get a couple laps on those newer tires, try to pick up some time, get some track position. All of that is always possible as Adam Benefiel going to work around the 07 of Sherry Ann Mills. She will go 1 lap down. That will leave us with 29 cars on the lead lap. Last car on the lead lap will be the Advocare Ford of Jason Lester.
Side-by-side battle going on for now what's going to be the 6th position. Matt Lacrosse taking that at the start-finish line and going to take it away from David Comstock, who continues to fall just a little bit further down the running order, back to 7th. Eric Brundys, one of the others that stayed out with him in 10th right now. Nathan Little, rather, the 41, one of the other cars who stayed out on older tires back in 18th. So what we're seeing right now, Evan, is on a long run, tires mean everything. But did you expect such a long run this early in the race? I thought it would be a whole lot more yellow flag laps in the early going here. I didn't expect a run like this till around lap 60 or so, honestly.
Yeah, that's a fair judgment based on the way these races typically go. You see a couple yellows at the start, you'll get that long green flag stretch in the middle, and And then it hits the fan towards the end where you see all those yellows. We did have the one caution. It was relatively early, and I'm surprised that they've been able to keep it clean and green because it's not like they've been single foul and spread out. And just as we say that, knock on wood, caution flag gonna fly. Trying to get a number on what's gonna cause that, but we do go under yellow flag conditions as somebody having some trouble gonna bring out that caution.
Trying to check the video right now and see exactly what's brought this caution out, but it does slow the pace here at lap number 47. And there we find it on the video, and it's one of our chase contenders, Evan, the 58 of Justin Wilson, bringing the caution flag out. He's got problems, and yet again, we see another chaser with issues here in the early going.
Yeah, he was there in a big pack of cars and just got down to the apron a little bit, stepped it up the hill, and at that point, it was all but gone. The 58 machine, Joey Gittino Racing on the side of it, went around. He locked it up, was able to keep it, off the racing surface. He did go down to the apron, spin out, and just go up above that white line, so the caution flag did fly, so that almost saves him, because if we stayed green, that would have bit him a lot more, but we're going to slow him back down. Pit stop's going to be rolling through this time by don't expect anything less than 4 tires after the way we saw that one shake out. Benefield going to lead him down. He does have the advantage of that #1 pit stall on pit road. Let's see if anybody can beat him off, as the one of Thomas J. George going to be entering second, and John Higman Jr. going to enter in third.
Yeah, we saw Higman make a great play for 2 tires on that last pit stop to make up a ton of track position. He'll pull into his pit stall, while Benefield and George pulling all the way down to the end of pit road, and they'll fall into their stops. I'm keeping my eye on the #1 of Thomas J. George as the right side's going up on the #1 machine. Behind him, Rhett McBride. Right side work done on both of those machines, and it looks like on my end of pit road, it's going to be 4 tires for everybody. Higman again with a nice stop as it's a scramble off pit road.
And Thomas J. George gave a shot at it, and those speeds got a little high. But he'll exit pit road at second. John Higman Jr. will exit third, so no change within the top 3. Rhett McBride lost a couple of positions. He entered 4th. He will exit 6th. So tough break for McBride, as Mitch Rollo going to lose a lot of time as well. So the 4th and 5th place cars on going to lose about 2-3 spots apiece. That'll cycle them back into top 10.
Yeah, Will. Rollo lost a ton of time on that pit stop. That was really hard to watch for the 96 team, and Eric Brundy's another one of these guys who was in the backside of the top 10. I didn't see any problems on that pit stop, but Brundy's just has a long way to go here. I think he just got mired back in a little bit of traffic on pit road, Evan, and he's going to be struggling. He's going to try to make some moves on this restart. The championship leader coming in, he's not used to being back in this position.
And that's one of the things that you're going to have to show the attrition of riding, mid-pack with cars around you, and that last green flag run was a little skewed with the tire strategy, so we saw who was fast, but they weren't all on an even playing field per se. Now everyone's going to have 4 tires. Now we're going to see what you can do. Eric Brundy's is going to be starting 10th. If he's faster on these 4 fresh tires this time, it's not going to be a breeze working his way up through the field. It's going to be a similar situation to Rhett McBride. You may be fast, if not faster than the leaders, but by the time you get up there to battle with them, they're already multiple seconds out in front of you. So interesting how this one's going to shake up, just 10 laps short of the halfway point this time by the stripe.
Exactly, and as soon as we cross the stripe, as it looks like we're doing right about now, we'll get an updated look at the leaderboard, and it looks like how it's going to line up is Benefield the leader, Thomas J. George second, John Higman Jr. trying to get the tires cleaned off a little bit. He's third. Matt Lacrosse going to go away from 4th, and Jonathan Cadell, haven't said his name yet tonight. He's made a run on this round of pit stops up to the 5th spot. Rhett McBride 6th. C.J. Laverde 7th, L. Bryce Whitson Jr., my dark horse for the evening. He's moved up to the 8th position. Mitch Rollo falls 4 spots back tonight. Eric Brundy's is 10th. You got Dan Murray back there, Scott Simley, Nathan Littles started to rebound just a little bit, picked up a couple spots on that round of pit stops. This one's going to be fun on the restart, Evan.
Yeah, I talked to Bryce before the race and was talking about how he had a little bit of confidence. I mean, he felt good coming into this race. He just needed a little bit of luck. He says, you know, you can have a fast car, but that's not going to translate to a good finish unless you get a little bit of luck. That's the way these races go. So he wants to keep the nose clean of his Chevrolet, and again, he can walk away with a solid spot. He started 22nd, he's in 8th. It's pretty solid improvement, about 14 positions short of the halfway point. So keep an eye on that 00 for sure. He'll be starting P8. That's the outside of row number 4. Lights are off at a pace car. That's going to be going green on lap number 52, 9 laps short of the halfway point. Again, Adam Benefiel will be the control car.
Yeah, he will be, and that's a position that Adam Benefiel's been in basically all night long, and I'll tell you, I think that 85 car is right where it's been comfortable so far tonight, out in front, and the catch is now he's going to have a very hungry Thomas J. George, and even John Higman, who's now got 4 fresh tires in that number 60 machine. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Eden Ford come forward here on this restart. Matt Lacrosse is back there, the number 21. Like we said, these restarts, you got to get all you can get, and it is about to get really, really interesting. You've got all 3 manufacturers in the top 4. Toyota, Chevy, Ford, Chevy, pace car hits pit road, and Benefiel's gone. Green flag back in the air. Oh, as CJ LeVere gets down to the apron, he didn't go. Back in the pack goes the 4. Out to the lead goes the 85 in turn 1.
More 3 wide this time by choice. The 41 of Nathan Little goes to the inside of Murray and the 48 of Linden. They all clear it. And we have trouble with the 92. Jason Lester has a black flag for passing one of those cars that got that tire spin. Race control is going to try to take care of that, but we're side by side with Matt Lacrosse. He's going to get around Thomas J. George in 3 and 4.
And this is where life gets fun. What did we say about these restarts? And I'll tell you somebody else who got what they could get on this restart. That was John Higman. He's up to 2nd. He's chasing the race lead in turn number 1. That 60 car is coming to life, as is Matt Lacrosse. Thomas J. George got shuffled back to 4th on that exchange.
Yeah, John Higman Jr. was the best out of those cars that went he was the only car that did the 2 tires, but he was able to hang with the guys that did 4, so now that he's on an even playing field, interesting to see what the interval is going to be this time by. Last time it was 34 100ths, this time 29, so he's going to close in a little bit of ground. John Higman Jr. could be a dark horse in this race as well. He runs solid, but is obviously still trying to get to victory lane. As he sits 2nd right now, his machine looks pretty stout as he works and trails the 85 of Benefiel. He opens up a little bit of a gap on Matt Lacrosse, who you mentioned got 3rd, as Thomas J. George has slipped back to B4 after restarting there in 2nd. Also, Cadell could round out the top 5 right now as the top 10 rides single file.
Oh, Matt Lacrosse tagged the wall as he was coming to the start-finish line with the back end of that number 21 machine. He'll try to get the ship righted, but keeping an eye back in the pack, Eric Grundy's picked up 3 spots on that restart. He's back up to 7th. Bryce Whitson Jr. fell a couple of spots. He's rounding out the top 10 right now, and I want to give a call to the 68 of Scott Sinley. He's up to the 11th position, making a few moves on this restart. It's getting dicey from about 5th on back, but I'll tell you, if John Higman Jr. has anything to say about it, it's going to get dicey for the lead in just a minute. It's just about a 1/4 of a second at the start-finish line.
He's creeping in on him. He's not flying up there, but he's not losing ground. The issue for him is Matt Lacrosse is not going away either, and you need to be careful here when you're going to make that pass on Adam Benefiel. You don't want to overdrive it, don't want to get it over your head, because you can easily lose spots from Lacrosse, Thomas J. George. Those guys are only 5/10 of a second back from you, John, if you're riding in P2, but that's 60. He's really kicking that rear end out off of corner number 4. He's going to get another 2 100ths that time by. Stalking his prey down into 1 and 2 is John Higman Jr. Looking pretty strong right now, trying to close in on Adam Benefiel.
This is about to get really good. And look at Matt Lacrosse up there. 2 non-chasers in the top 3 right now. We've got 3 in the top 8 and 4 in the top 10. So I'll tell you, this party isn't exactly everything the chasers had in mind tonight. We thought it would be about 10 of the 16 up in the top 10 or 12 positions. And right now, some of these guys who are not in championship contention certainly showing a very strong run for themselves tonight. Definitely John Higman Jr. a threat to win right now. And we're coming up on this halfway point, looking a little further back in the pack. I've got my eyes right now on the number 4 Coca-Cola Chevrolet of C.J. LeVere. He's having quietly a very solid run in that 4 car right now, running P9.
I'll tell you, it's going to be frustrating for John Higman Jr. The gap is back to 29 hundredths of a second, still very close. but he's been working so hard. It took him 4 or 5 laps to trim off about 400s, and he lost nearly half a second out of 4 about 2 laps ago. So that's the border that you got to walk. It's a tightrope. You don't want to hang yourself on that, is the fact that you can work here under the green flag run, work so hard and just get inches and inches, just closing in on him. You make one slip up, and you'll lose 10 times the amount of time that you were making up.
And that's just how tight this racing pack and the racing itself in the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series is. Everybody's so close. You just can't afford a mistake as they're side by side. It looks like about for the 4th or 5th position right now. Jonathan Cadell. I'm watching this battle right now. Jonathan Cadell, Eric Brundys, Rhett McBride, the 11, the 2, and the 94. They look like they've got trailer hitches between them. And right now, I'll tell you, this is getting really good back around 5th, 6th, 7th position.
3rd place could be the next one up for grabs. Matt Lacrosse lost a little bit of time at a 2. It's 2 car lengths between him and Thomas J. George, but he was right on the right rear going down into corner number 3. It looks like Matt's driving it into the corner a lot better, but a lot harder than Thomas J. George. Thomas getting a little bit of a better run off. But Matt Lacrosse, great job at corner number 4. He'll close that gap back in again. That is the battle for 3rd. They're separated by about 1 car length in 1 and 2.
They are, and I'll tell you, it's really tight for some of these battles in the top 10. Watching Thomas J. George and Matt Lacrosse, watching Rhett McBride go to work. It's going to be side by side now down the back straightaway. McBride to the inside, and I think Jonathan Cadell in the 11 just absolutely let him go into turn number 3. McBride gets around the 11 like he was standing still, moved the deuce to P5.
Yeah, the 11 went high, braked a little early, and the 2 machine was able to get back by him, and that was so that Jonathan could get back in line. The Strutmasters Toyota, he knows that, look, Eric Brundys right there, Mitch Rollo as well. If he put up a battle there with that 2 machine right McBride in 3 and 4, and they stayed side by side for at least half a lap, that would have easily allowed Brundys Rollo to close in, and he could have been pinched on the outside lane, could have lost 2 more spots. So good move by Cadell. He took a look at crossing him over at a 4. Did not get the job done, but he'll ride P6 right now, McBride up to 5th.
And Eric Brundys wanted to follow him through around the 11 of Jonathan Cadell, but the Strutmasters Toyota just slammed the door on him. And, you know, Mitch Rollo back there in the 8th position, he's still quietly having a good run as we got a battle for 10th. Give it to Scott Simley around L. Bryce Whitson Jr. Those 2 going at it, but right now Simley with the upper hand, and L. Bryce Whitson Jr., he's trying to become the challenger once again, but I think he's quickly going to start to fall into the clutches now. No, he gets back around Simley at the start-finish line. These 2 going at it, they've changed that 10th position 3 times in the last 2 laps.
00 is going to slide up high, 68 to the left rear, a little bit of a tap, and going to use as much side drag, try to take the air off of Whitson's Chevrolet into the corner. So now the 68 Assembly back on the inside. He will make it door-to-door off corner number 4, and now we're going to see a situation that Cadell was trying to avoid as they ride side by side. That's going to slow down their lap times, and that could open up the door for a 41 right here. Nathan Little, 55 of Dan Murray, and if that 00 gets stuck on the outside, they could come that freight train on the bottom. But wow, look at the 00 in 1 and 2. He'll get it on the outside lane.
I told you, this is a momentum track. Evan is now, Simley, he's falling back now. Nathan Little said, all right, if you can't take the position, I'll take it away from you instead. Nathan Little to the bottom of the racetrack as they come to the start-finish line. He'll take the 11th position away, and that number 41 Chevrolet kicks Simley back to the 12th position. Now I think we're starting to see what Nathan Little might have in that machine. We've not seen a whole lot of him in the regular season. Once he got quietly into the chase, that was basically the end of that. But Nathan Little right now, I think if he could get up into the top 10, he could be a dark horse contender to advance to this next round. That 41 looking solid right now.
Yeah, again, when you go down from 16 to 12, if you're running right now where he sits P11, you get 11th place every race. You're not going to get eliminated. Though these first few rounds, you can ride some solid finishes and advance. Guys like the 4 machine, the CJ LeVere, who has fast machines but has not been able to translate it into a lot of wins. CJ sitting on 1 on the season, but both him and Nathan Little, if they just get some solid finishes, they can advance themselves into these next few rounds. And again, who knows what can happen from there. But the emphasis on winning also has to be balanced with you have to just get solid finishes to survive before you really start to drive that machine hard there when we get down to these ladder races.
And right now, doing what he needs to do, as is the 60 of John Hickman Jr. We talk about he's making microscopic gains, but he's making gains. It's now down to about 2 car lengths, 0.2 of a second. Last time by the stripe, he takes another 100th off it, as right now, Eric Brundys has moved into the 6th position, around to Jonathan Cadell, that 94, finally kicking the 11 to the high lane, and Brundys trying to come back forward. He's picked up 4 positions since the restart. We are now at lap 70 of 120, past halfway. Let's take a look down the Garry Mercer Trucking leaderboard here with 50 laps to go. Adam Benefiel, your race leader. John Hickman Jr. rides second. Thomas J. George is third. Matt LaCrosse fourth. Brett McBride rides the number 5 spot. Eric Brundys is 6th. Jonathan Cadell up to 7th. Mitch Rollo rides in 8th. C.J. LeVere 9th. And L. Bryce Whitson Jr. completes the top 10.
Nathan Little sits right now in P11. Scott Simley in 12th place. Dan Murray 13th. Corbin Hemstreet with the 14th place running right now. Steve Gottschalk in 15th. Kevin Linden, the 48th, at 16th. David Comstock has slid all the way back to P17. Ritz Jet 18th. Scott Stenzel 19th. That's another one of our chasers. And Justin Wilson, another chase hopeful, or championship hopeful rather, in the chase. Then JTR Chevrolet rides in 20th.
21st tonight goes to Jamie Pitts as they run. Brennan Mercer, one of the chase contenders, in 22nd. 23rd is the 92 of Jason Lester, who's one of our championship contenders, and that car was driven remarkably at Richmond last week by a substitute driver. Lester back in the car this week. Ed Williams Jr. rides 24th. John Wilco 25th. 26th is J. Randall Watkins. The last car on the lead lap in 27th, Sherry Ann Mills. 28th is Doug Roth. 29th, Stephen Herring. And 30th, I believe, out of this race now, the 46th, Mark Bratcher.
Keith Brooks Jr. 31st, also off the racetrack. So from here on back, almost all these cars off track. 32nd is John Abbott. He is on the racetrack. He is 17 laps down. Brian Harvey behind the wall, 33rd place result. Jose Gonzalez and Brandon Peterson, 34th and 35th. Again, after making contact early in the going, not the way that they wanted to start their chase. Could be a fatal move there as far as their championship hopes. They will walk away 34th and 35th. Again, James Robinson, 36th, LD Serbia, 37th, and Michael Woolley can round out the field, 38th position.
That's a look at the Garry Mercer Trucking leaderboard here with now 74 of 120 laps complete. Right now, Adam Benefiel, your race leader, but how about half a tenth last time by? John Hickman Jr. took out of that lead, and I'll tell you, it's a 3-horse race at the front of this field, but I wouldn't put the money on any one of the 3 right now because they are in close quarters right now, working lap number 75, and Hickman on the attack.
He continues to try to chip away at the gap that Adam Benefiel has been able to get, and once he got it down now, he's the closest that he's been all race. It was 1700ths last time by. Benefiel's going to pick up 3 more, so it goes back to 2/10. And so they prepare to work around some lap traffic. The 43 Doug Roth's going to go down a second lap, as that machine that has some damage on it, 43, will yield high here as Benefiel will go to the bottom, try to use whatever draft he can, get it right to the back bumper, and then dive low. But again, you don't count out Thomas J. George sits 3rd place right now. These guys have a 2+ second cushion from 4th on back, but if these guys get to battling up front, that can allow Thomas J. George to close it in just that little bit more that he needs to really be a major factor in this, as he sits about 6 car lengths off of Hickman.
And I'm looking back now to the battle for 4th. Rhett McBride is closing quickly on the 21 of Matt LaCrosse. 21 and 2 getting ready to go at it. And, you know, McBride is doing a very solid job as well. I think that 2 car has a little bit more speed than what it's showing right now. Is, oh, hello, battle for the runner-up spot down the start finish. I think John Hickman got way loose coming off turn number 4. He lost a lot of momentum, and the 1 of Thomas J. George capitalizes. The snap-on Chevrolet moving to position number 2 for an instant, but Hickman trying to pull the crossover can't do it down the back straightaway. He'll fall into line. Move the 1 of Thomas J. George to the 2nd position.
And that bobble by John Higman Jr. is going to allow Thomas J. George to get that position. Not only that, but allow Benefield to return to a half of a second gap. And Thomas J. George just single-handedly took a 10th off of it that last time by. That #1 snap-on Chevy could be a major factor and could be the fastest car on the racetrack right now. Meanwhile, Rhett McBride has gotten that position for P4 and now side-by-side for P5. Brundy's to the inside on Matt Lacrosse down the back straightaway.
Yeah, here comes Brundy's as we've got a little bit of smoke in turn 3. I think one car way down low and hitting the pit lane, so not going to be a factor for the leaders, but I held my breath for just a second, and I'll tell you, Thomas J. George was the fastest car on the racetrack last time around. He took almost 2/10 out of the race lead. Here comes the one, the snap-on Chevrolet of Thomas J. George. He is right there as Higman tags the wall down the back straightaway.
Now he's bringing Higman with him. Higman's only about 1-2 car lengths off his back bumper. Benefield with a better entry in 3, but it's down these straightaways where that one machine can really open it up. Thomas J. George, who rides second, that time by he lost 1/100th of a second, but green flag stops beginning to cycle through the first car, starting to trickle down pit road. J. Randall Watkins is in not only for service, but some damage repairs as well on his number 30. He actually came down pit road right in front of race leader Adam Benefield and kind of made it a little bit closer than Adam would have wanted there, down into 4, as that 30 machine had to get it woed up for pit road speed.
He got it woed up, though, and everybody able to continue on, no harm, no foul. Thomas J. George takes another half a tenth out of this race lead. It's down to a car length in turn #1. That one machine is on the march, and we now just have 39 laps to go. Thomas J. George, he's trying to make a championship statement, and down the back straightaway, he's taking a peek for the lead.
Car length down into 3 and 4. Lap machine's going to yield high. That's going to be the 98 machine of Stephen Herring. He will lose his 3rd lap. CJ Laverne going to come in from pit road this time by from position number 9 as he announces it over radio. Adam Benefield's going to let the one machine go down into the corner. So new race leader Thomas J. George, the snap-on Chevrolet, going to go to the point at lap 83.
Don't hold your breath too tightly, Evan, there. Almost a crossover for the 85 of Benefield. That number 85 Toyota tried to take a look, and he'll take a look down into turn number 3 and almost get into the quarter panel there. Benefield's not done with this battle for the lead. Thomas J. George taking it, but he's not able to pull away at all. The 85 still all over the back bumper. John Higman Jr. starting to lose a little bit of time to this battle for the lead.
Yeah, Benefield continues to trace him. Higman's lost at least half a second. It was 6/10 the last time by as more lead lap cars continue to start to cycle down towards pit road for the final service that they will need. Mitch Rollo announces that he'll bring the Jag Chevy in this time from P8 as he goes through the corner, and he'll actually stay out one more time, so not sure what the radio communication was for that, but he'll stay out in P8 as another machine from the top 10 is going to come down pit road for service as well. So as this all starts to cycle through, we've been limited to right now 23 cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, the question now becomes, Evan, how long do you wait if you're the race leaders? Tires mean so much here at Chicago. If you're gonna get tires, how long can you afford to wait if you're a Benefield or a George who's out in front of this field by a decent margin? We see Adam Benefield taking a peek for the lead, but they've got to be thinking, when do we come?
Yeah, and Thomas J. George, Adam Benefield talking over the radio, and the determination that they have come up with is that since Benefield has dropped back to allow what he believes to be a faster #1 of Thomas J. George by, he's been faster. So that car that rides in P2 is using that slipstream, that draft right up on bumper, is really putting a big hole in the air there and is giving that #2 machine in line a little bit of an advantage. But Benefield is riding on his back bumper. You mentioned he took a couple peeks for the lead, but he's letting Thomas J. George over the radio know that he's not looking for the lead right now, just going to ride around behind him as they try to continue and to extend their gap. John Higman Jr. is actually closed in from 6/10 to 5 as he tries to get back into that battle in 3rd, and again, Rhett McBride, who is 4th, is 3+ seconds away from our leaders.
Yeah, and right now they are still hanging out there. Everybody in the top 5 right now is still there. Brennan Mercer's made the trip to pit road, and Higman lost a little bit of time there, as did Benefield, who, as you said, just riding, and they'll go around Brennan Mercer as he comes off the pit lane and going to blend back in with this field. Benefield making the call right now. He's going to be hitting pit road this time, and it's going to be interesting to see, does Thomas J. George come with him? No, he does not, as Higman about made contact with the lap car.
The 99 machine made it too wide there, right up against the fence. That's Jamie Pitts 2 laps down. And John Higman Jr. is evidently not satisfied with the way that went down. So again, Jamie Pitts already on fresh tires, so that's why he was so much faster than Thomas J. George, but or rather than John Higman Jr. Higman's going to come down pit road for the #1 spot. He overdrove it. He's going to miss pit road entry from the #1 spot.
That's disastrous, and we talk about mistakes. That is exactly what Thomas J. George did not need right here, and it is going to cost him big time. Eric Brundys pulls up to the #2 position. Brundys is not yet pitted, but this is disastrous for the race leader, who still holds on to the lead. But that's the kind of mistake that can lose you a championship, and now he's going to try it again. He is going to get it way woed up right here is Thomas J. George. He hits the pit lane and headed towards you, Evan.
He got a solid run down there on the pit road, was able to get it down to 45 right at the cone, but again lost about 2 seconds on the racetrack. Again, had that big gap over Eric Brundys, who cycles through to the lead, and Brundys evidently got right up to his bumper as he cycled down to the pit lane, but he's coming in for service, anticipating 4 tires and the amount of fuel that he will need to go 30 laps once he exits the pit lane to get out. 4 tire stop working on Thomas J. George. Left side's going to go up as well, and he is going to be off of pit road.
We got dark smoke. We're trying to follow up. Somebody's got problems here. It's just made their way to pit road. Eric Brundys is on pit road right now. Jonathan Cadell is taking over the race lead. Nathan Little, the one with problems. The 41 machine, Evan.
Yeah, he was coming down pit road. Looks like he was working some right side damage. Caught the fence and came down pit road. As soon as he got it onto the pit lane, it started spewing smoke down the back straightaway. Went away for a little bit, and then when he came into a stall, more black smoke for Nathan Little, championship contender, and he's brought it behind the wall.
And thus ends another championship hopefuls night here at Chicagoland. We talk about it, and there it is. This is going to be interesting to keep, and we'll follow up on it here more in just a moment. Right now, though, I'm keeping an eye on Eric Brundys, who was the race leader. He hit pit road for 4 fresh tires, and Brundys, it looks like, is going to fall in right here behind the 2 of Rhett McBride and the 1 of Thomas J. George. Scott Stenzel's the race leader right now. He's trying to play the game, hoping for a caution flag. But how is this going to cycle out is the question, Evan, because right now we're seeing the 1, the 2, and the 94 all right here together on the racetrack, and it looks like that is going to be the battle for about 3rd spot, because the way I'm looking at scoring right now, if it cycles through the way I'm looking at it, John Higman Jr. is going to be the new race leader.
Yeah, Scott Stenzel leads right now, has yet to come down pit road for his final stop of service. Why not? You see the 60 of John Higman Jr. Look at the speed on those 4 fresh tires. He will unlap himself the old-fashioned way. He will go to the last car on the lead lap position, which will be 8th. And now that the 42 of Stenzel can see, he's going to come down pit road.
Yeah, he is, and we'll follow up on Stenzel's stop here in a moment. Right now, got Nathan Little, who's come up to the broadcast booth with us. Nathan, you were having quietly a solid run tonight, just doing what you needed to do to get to the next round, and we just saw you heavy smoke and damage to the right side of that number 41 machine. What happened?
Yeah, I think I slipped up there a little bit, and I think Sherry-Ann got up, squeezed the 20 down a little bit, and he got a little squirrely, and I had to do a little jab to the right to miss him, and had to put a damper on her night, but get him next week. Then in my frustration there, I jabbed it in the wrong gear, and yeah, that's what happened.
It does happen, and I know the championship is not over for you. You can still advance by either hoping a couple of these other guys have some problems in the next 2 races, or by coming up and stealing a win. Where does the focus now shift for you in these next 2 races?
We're going to have 2 solid top 10s. I know there's a few guys having some trouble tonight. I know Jose and Brandon, but I think we're still in it. Next week's a good track. Dover's a great track, and we'll go get them. Keep after it.
And we look forward to watching it, Nathan. Appreciate you taking a couple of minutes to talk with us here this evening. Hate your bad luck, but we'll see you back out next week at Loudon.
Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, thank you.
That's Nathan Little, driver the number 41, and he takes his car and his night behind the wall, is still waiting to see how this cycles through. Rich Jett, currently the race leader with 97 laps complete. Steve Gottschalk rides second. Justin Wilson third. Ed Williams Jr. rides fourth. John Wilco in the fifth spot. Wilson hits the pit lane. That leaves 4 drivers who have not yet cycled through. John Higman up to 6th right now. He is the race lead, or when it all cycles through, he will be the race leader by about 2 seconds, Evan. Over number 85 of Adam Benefield. Car in the grass. Hold on tight. Steve Gottschalk. Oh, boy.
Yeah, he came down for service. He said he was one of our top 5 guys. And trying to get whatever he could out of it on the apron there on 1 and 2. Got sideways, went down to the grass, was able to hang on to it. No caution. We stay green, but that will cost him a couple of tenths as he gets back onto the racing surface.
Yes, it will, and we see right now...
Ed Williams Jr. trouble. The 65 misses pit road. He's in the front straightaway grass, and he's going to get a penalty for that one as he enters his stall.
How many times have we seen that so far tonight, a driver missing pit road? We saw it in the Cup race on Sunday, too. You're carrying such high speed in the corner, Evan. If you don't get it just right, you're going to miss pit road, and it's going to be a disaster. We saw it happen. The pros have done it, and now we're seeing it in the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series tonight as well.
Yeah, and more trouble. The 36 of Rich Jett, who comes in from what was the number 1 position, overshoots his stall. So you don't think of Chicagoland be one of the harder tracks to get on pit road, but it's been giving guys issues all night long. So it's pretty tricky getting her down to speed there off of corner number 4, and we've seen a handful, if not 5-6 guys have some sort of issue getting down to that commitment cone.
And with the 36 of Jett hitting the pit lane and having his problems, that turns the race lead with coming to 19 laps to go to John Higman Jr. by 1.6 seconds. Make it 1.4 seconds over Adam Benefield. Evan, I don't know if you were here in the radio chatter during pit stops. Did Higman try another strategy ploy to win this race?
He came down, the Eden Construction Chevrolet. We'll take a look and compare him and Benefield. Looks like that 60 machine was down for service somewhere around the lap 90 mark. So you got to take a look. There wasn't a lot of difference there, maybe a couple of hundreds on their overall pit stop times, but that time by, Higman's able to pick up 3/1000, so not a lot, but right now, being a non-chaser leading the race right now, Benefield wants to get to that second round. You can guarantee that 85 wants to lock up his ticket, and he's going to be driving this thing hard, still with about 18 to go. Rides 1.4 seconds back as the gap between 1 and 2. It is a lot of time to make up in that short amount of time.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of time, and we've just got 17 laps to settle it here, and I'll tell you, we have been full throttle since the drop of the green flag, Evan. 120 consecutive laps it'll be by the time that we're done with this, because we don't want to look away until the checkered flag. It's been a while. I don't think you and I have done that all season long, but the action tonight on the racetrack has just been too good.
Yeah, battles all throughout the pack, and that's why it's impressive that we had only seen that one yellow there with about 5 laps into it, is the fact that we've seen positions battling all throughout the racetrack, and we have a solid battle going on right now for 17th. Only a couple tenths separate Rich Jett, Steve Gottschalk, but Benefield, I think he needs a caution at this point. However, we have seen a couple of cars find that wall very easily at a corner number 4. It is not too late for John Higman Jr. to throw this one away, but at this point, unless we see a caution, it is his race to lose.
Yeah, it is, and I'm hearing in my ear that we do need to step aside real quick. We're going to take a short commercial break and then come back, bring you all the way to the checkered flag from Chicagoland Speedway. This is LSRTV. Stay with us. Welcome back to Chicagoland Speedway and the Garry Mercer Trucking 180 tonight here for the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series on LSRTV. Jacob Seelman, Evan Pasoko in the broadcast booth, and right now as they run, coming to 11 laps to go, we've got 4 chase drivers in the top 5. The problem is the one spot that matters is occupied by a non-chase contender, the number 64 of John Hickman Jr., leading this race by almost a second and a half. He's got 10 and a half laps to be the spoiler here tonight in the Windy City, Evan.
And he has not given up any time to Adam Benefiel as Hickman works around the lap traffic machine. The 65 is going to yield high. That's Ed Williams Jr. He'll go 2 laps down as that kind of stuns the momentum of Hickman off the corner, having 65 outside. But Benefiel's been hanging out about 1.4 seconds back. He gets a 10th there, obviously, with Hickman navigating that lap traffic. It's going to go down to 1.3 seconds, but again, unless we see a caution before 4 to go, I think this is old John Hickman Jr. He's got 2 lap machines to kind of use as a pick. Both the 65 and the 69 machines are lap machines in between him and Adam Benefiel, and I think that 60 machine is doing solid. P4 is still well up for grabs. That's Rhett McBride. The 94 of Brundy's with a great run, and he might try to make a move for it here as they're going to be about bumper to bumper at 9 to go.
Yeah, they will be just about, and as we continue to watch that battle, Evan, coming to 9 laps to go, how big would this be? You know, for a season where John Hickman Jr., he misses the chase, but right now, he's been on a roll here of late. He picked up an RSR win outside of the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series. He's got 18 on his career. He would move into 2nd all-time by himself if he could hold this one down.
It's going to make a statement. You're trying to play the Kyle Larson factor, or you're talking about the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series this past weekend, where you have solid finishes, you haven't been able to translate it into a trip to victory lane, and John Hickman Jr. may be getting it just one race too late, or he could be a challenger in this championship. So at this point, it's about making a statement that you have a strong race team, and even though you missed the chase, you're still not something to be messed around with. And that 60 machine's able to string together these solid finishes. It was 1.1 last time by Benefiel. Now trying to navigate the lap traffic. Will lose 1 more tenth at a gap returns to 1.2 seconds between P's 1 and 2 at a racetrack.
Yeah, and right now, what we're seeing, I think, tonight as well, is we know right now who the 4 favorites to make it to the championship round in Homestead are, because unless something major changes, I think Adam Benefiel, the 85, Thomas J. George, the 1, the Rhett McBride, 2, and the 94 of Eric Brundy's, they've been the 4 best cars this season, and I think those 4 right now are my favorites to go all the way to round number 10, take this to Homestead. But I want to give a call to the guy in 6th place, the number 68, Scott Simley. I don't think I've said his name one time tonight. He's doing a fine job here running 6th, coming up on 5 laps to go.
A solid recovery as Eric Brundy is going to make it a side-by-side battle in the closing laps. That's going to be for position number 4, off of quarter number 4. He cannot quite clear that 2 of Rhett McBride. McBride is going to try to claw and scratch for that position. Those guys just now taking 5 to go. As I said, about 3.6 seconds back from Hickman. And now the 94 of Brundy's will get clear of Rhett McBride. He'll take over the number 4 spot. Still not out of the clearing, as the 2 is still about half a car length off of him, but a good recovery, Jacob, for Brundy's, who we saw slipping earlier in the race all the way outside to the top 10 positions in 10th, and he's been able to pick it back up. He rides top 5 right now. The 2's going to catch the wall, and Brundy's going to get some insurance over that spot.
Yeah, he is, and I'm watching the battle for the lead. A little bit of damage to the 2 of Rhett McBride, I think, from that contact with the wall, as we keep an eye on right now this battle for the race lead. The thing is, there's clear track between Adam Benefiel and the race leader, John Hickman Jr. This time by, it's going to be 3 laps to go. That gap is 1.1 seconds. I think Benefiel may have shown everything he's got, Evan. Hickman pulling away.
There's just not enough time. He picked up a 10th that time by. You got to get a 1/3 of a second just to get to his bumper here in these closing laps. There's 1 more lap machine in front of them now as the 99 of Jamie Pitts has cycled in between them. Again, the 99 and the 60 had a little bit of a run-in earlier in the race, so John Hickman Jr. was able to get around him that time without incident. He's going to yield high for Benefiel as well, so Benefiel's going to be staring down Hickman here. This time by the start-finish line, 2 laps remain. John Hickman Jr. down to the apron. Benefiel just stays on the racetrack, and it's 1 second at 2 to go.
3 miles separate John Higman Jr. for what would be a milestone victory. Only Chad Cole, with 66 career RSR triumphs, has more. John Higman trying to go for that win number 19, Evan, as they come off turn number 4, this time by, he is 1.5 miles away from doing that. White flag goes in the air for the number 60 of John Higman Jr. Again, Benefield cuts it down by 4/100ths, but I think at this point that white flag is going to be the flag of surrender as they work off of turn number 2. Victory in his sights. He is not a championship contender, but he will play the role of spoiler tonight. He's got all the chase drivers behind him as he works off the final corner. Checkered flag going in the air. Career win number 19, second all-time for John Higman Jr.
Benefield's going to give it all he had. He still made up time, considering the fact that he bounced off the wall in corner number 4 for the last 2-3 laps. He'll walk away with the best finishing position out of the drivers in the chase. A solid second-place performance. And Thomas J. George, again, another chase contender, going to come home third. You mentioned it when we came back from the commercial break. The top 5, 4 out of the 5 of them chase contenders. Only issue for all those chase guys is the number 1 spot was the only one that was not occupied by one of them. And John Higman Jr., the Eden Construction Chevrolet, a well-deserved win, going to put that forward in victory lane.
And how about 7 of the top 10 chase drivers tonight? Matt Lacrosse and Bryce Whitson Jr., 8th and 9th, the other 2 drivers who are not involved in this battle for the championship. But the one spot that pays all the cash here tonight, that number 60 Ford, he's not a chase driver, but he doesn't care right now. He's the one doing the donuts. John Higman Jr. going to victory lane. When we come back to Chicagoland Speedway, we'll talk with the man who is now 2nd on the all-time RSR win list. Stay tuned. More from Joliet, Illinois and the Chicagoland Speedway when we come back.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
Welcome back to the Garry Mercer Trucking post-race show here on LSRTV. The aftermath of tonight's Garry Mercer Trucking 180 from Chicagoland Speedway, the opening race of the chase for the Full Throttle Cup, for the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series. Jacob Seelman and Evan Pasoko here, wrapping up what was a very exciting and very green flag run to tonight's finish, with John Higman Jr. playing the role of spoiler. He is not a chaser, but he grabs the victory tonight. We'll be down there to talk with him in just a moment. But first, a look at tonight's Garry Mercer full field rundown. Higman, of course, getting the win. Adam Benefiel coming home second. Thomas J. George in third. Eric Brundys, the championship leader, fourth. Fifth is Rhett McBride. Sixth, Jonathan Cadell. Seventh to Scott Simley. Matt Lacrosse, one of the non-chasers, in 8th. 9th, L. Bryce Whitson Jr., another non-chaser. And 10th, the 55 Toyota of Dan Murray.
David Comstock's going to come home in 11th after running up front the opening portions. Kevin Linden going to come home with the 12th place result. Scott Stenzel, a good improvement after running around 20th at one portion in the race. He'll walk away with a 13th place result. Steve Gottschalk in 14th. Brennan Mercer, the Garry Mercer Trucking Chevrolet, going to come home 15th. Rich Jett, P16 for him. CJ Lavere, the Coca-Cola machine, going to come home 17th. Mitch Rollo will finish in 18th position. Had some trouble on the last lap. Looked like he had a little bit of a spin down the back straightaway. Corbin Hemstreet finishes 19th. He is the first car off the lead lap. Jamie Pitt's going to come home in 20th rather. Jason Lester 21st. John Wilco 22nd. Ed Williams Jr. going to come home 23rd. Sherry Ann Mills 24th. Doug Roth 25th. Stephen Herring, a P26 result for him and his crew. J. Randall Watkins 27th. Justin Wilson 28th place result. Nathan Little 29th. Not good nights for those two drivers. Chase-wise, John Abbott going to come home in 30th. Mark Bratcher 31st. Keith Brooks Jr. 32nd. Brian Harvey 33rd. And then again, Jose Gonzalez and Brandon Peterson 34th and 35th. After a incident early on in the going, they're going to have an uphill climb rolling into next week. James Robinson 36th. LD Sarabia 37th. And Michael Woolley will round out the field in 38th. As Jacob, you're down in victory lane with a very happy John Higman Jr.
That's right. Down here, he played spoiler tonight and moves into sole possession of second on the all-time RSR Series win list with his 19th RSR sanctioned victory. John Higman Jr., how about that? I know it comes 1 week too late for you to take this and use it as momentum to challenge for a championship, but you've been on an upswing across the entirety of RSR competition lately. How good was that race car tonight?
It was excellent. I couldn't have asked for a better race car. All the way up until about 15 laps to go on fuel, that's when it started to fall off. But up until then, I think I was definitely one of the fastest cars on the track.
For you, you came in here, you had nothing to lose. You could go for wins, go for broke, and just try to see if you could break up this championship party. What does a win like this mean for you guys and for your team now going into these next 9 races, knowing that even though it was a week later than you needed it, you finally broken back to the top?
It means a lot. It's been so long since I won in the Cup Series over here at RSR. I mean, it's been like 2 or 3 years. So, yeah, this thing was a long time coming, and it's hard to say exactly what it means. It just means so much.
A lot of emotion down here, John. What was the difference between you and Adam tonight? It seemed like there were points during this race where your car was better. There were points where he was better, and it just seemed like from one end of the track to the other, it was just very dependent on what was going on around you guys as to who had the upper hand. But what was the difference there in that final run that ultimately let you grab this win?
I'd have to say getting out in that clean air after that final pit stop there, and I got a little gap on him. And I knew if I could get just a little ground on him that it'd be really, really hard to pass him, because it seems like once you got within about 3/10, the air really started to affect your car, and it was really hard to just make up that little bit of gap. So I knew if I could stay about a second out, I'd probably be okay, and I was able to maintain my lead and did what I needed to do to win the race tonight.
Strong run, 19th RSR victory for you. Like you said, it's been a couple of years since you've been here in the Cup car, but you do it tonight, and I know it's not possible by yourself. So give the sponsors and supporters some shout-outs. Who makes it happen for John Higman Jr.?
I'd like to thank everybody at RSR for putting on these great series that we get to racing every week. You guys at LSRTV for always broadcasting a great race. I mean, every time I watch one of these things, it's like, wow, these guys do a really good job. It's like watching a cup race on TV or something. And I'd like to thank Eating Construction. That's my primary sponsor, Jeff Eating in Springfield, Illinois. Need any remodeling done in your house or anything, don't hesitate to look them up and give them a call.
And again, John, congratulations. You stand alone at the top step of the podium tonight, a winner, a strong run, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week as the series heads to Loudon.
Thanks, Jacob. I look forward to it, man.
That is our race winner tonight from down here in Gatorade Victory Lane. Evan, I'm going to throw it over to you on pit road. I believe you've caught up with tonight's runner-up, Adam Benefiel.
9/10 of a second is going to be the gap. Adam Benefiel and the Roll Speed Dynamics machine comes home second. Adam, what was the difference there coming down to the end after the green flag pit stop cycled through? You were able to make up half a second, but not enough to close in on John.
Yeah, it was very disappointing. I think I was catching lap cars in the wrong places. I mean, I'd either catch them going in and I couldn't get the arc I needed, or coming off. But that's what I think it was. I mean, after we got by ourselves, I started chopping it down, but it's just where the luck goes sometimes.
Exiting tonight should be about second in the standings, but a P2 result considering some of the results that some of the guys here in the chase had, sub 20 position finishes. You got to be feeling good moving forward. 2 more races left in this round. Loudon's going to be coming up next. What do you think you have for them out there?
I'm very confident in Loudon. That is a very good track for me. So feeling good. You know, it was second, first loser, but better than I guess some of the guys had and whatnot.
The top finishing chase driver tonight. Who makes it happen for you and the crew?
Roll Speed Dynamics. The guys that helped me out in the series, Jonathan Cadell and Dan Murray. And my team, David Cater, Laura Lawson, Todd Hendricks. All them guys. Appreciate it.
And definitely, well, congratulations on a solid points finish. And Jacob, he says he likes Loudon. We'll be keeping on that 85 up front next week. Good finish again, Adam, and we'll be looking for you next week.
Thank you.
And I'm going to go right down here along pit road, Evan. I've caught up with our still championship leader. He loses a couple points off that gap, but Eric Brundy's, the Shell Pennzoil Ford, comes home 4th tonight. I know it's not ultimately the result you guys wanted. Couldn't quite duplicate what your Penske counterpart Brad Keselowski did for the 2nd week in a row, but still a solid result. Top 5 finish and basically doing what you need to do to hold this championship lead tonight. Talk about the run.
You know, we made a good run there at the end under green. We stayed out earlier, and that really wasn't a good idea because it went green for a while after that, and I think we went from 3rd back to like 11th, and I was getting really frustrated in the car, and so I just, kind of took a breath and regrouped myself, and when I think a yellow came out pretty close after that, and then we got fresh tires and moved our way up through the field a little bit, and then we had a really good pit stop, green flag pit stop, and got a few more spots that way. So, we weren't the fastest car tonight, but, we got a top 5, and that's all I'm aiming for here in these first 3 races of the segment.
Ultimately, still this chase in your hand right now, Eric, and going forward, Loudon next week. It just seems like you've been really, really good everywhere you've been this season. What do you think the mile up in New Hampshire has for you next week, and will we see up at the front of the pack there?
Well, I hope so. Loudon's a track I've always enjoyed. I haven't ran there in a while, so I got some testing to do. But you know, I've always enjoyed it. I enjoy just about every short track or intermediate. You know, it's my strong suit, and it's really nice to be going to 2 in a row now, Loudon and Dover. So hopefully we can get some more top 5s and maybe squeak out a win.
And Eric, real quick, who makes it happen for you in the 94 team?
I just want to thank you guys for a great broadcast. I'd like to thank my teammates for sitting with me, and I'd like to thank Amy for watching. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks.
Eric Brundys comes home 4th, but maintains the championship lead. And going back up pit road one more time, Evan Pasoko, I believe you have caught up with tonight's 3rd place finisher, Thomas J. George.
And there were points in the race that it was the #1 Snap-on Chevrolet that was the fastest. But when it's all said and done, Thomas, you're going to come home with a 3rd place result, 2 seconds back. So out of that, really, that main battle for the lead there at the end, how did it all cycle through there on that long green flag run and the green flag pit stops that got you 3rd?
You know, it started back when we got that caution, the last one, 70-something to go, and I knew it was going to set up a bunch of different pit strategies. You know, there were going to be people who were pitting, there was going to be people staying out, you know, laps or whatever, hoping for a caution to trap the others a lap down. And the good thing was we had such a fast car, you know, me and Adam and John, we were all pretty equal there for the first 30 or so laps, and then we were able to build up a big enough lead on the rest of the field that we could afford to short pit and get that extra time, hope that the caution didn't come out, and that's pretty much what happened. And, you know, I made a miscue on pit road, and I was trying to get it woed up. I didn't get it woed up enough. There was a car coming up behind me, and I just knew, it's like, okay, let's just, you know, try and finish this race and let the chips fall where they may.
Do you think that might have been what cost you and the team the shot at the chance there to race for that win at the end?
Oh yeah, and it's unfortunate, you know. I didn't lose a ton of time there, honestly. I was only about like you said, 2 seconds back, something like that. And the thing was, though, we were just so much better on the long run, and you know, I was saving my stuff, just, you know, waiting for the right time and to pass Adam. And I did get the lead, of course, but I knew I still had to pit anyway. I didn't have a choice, and you know, but it was the top 3, all of us after 5 laps, we would just pull away, and it was just such a strong race that I don't know if we could have won racing with them with the amount of laps we had left, but we had a strong enough car to do it.
Rolling out of tonight's 1.5-mile speedway at Chicagoland, we see 2 tracks of a shorter distance, very different characteristics. Flat track next week at Loudon, high banks of Dover in 2 weeks to round out the first segment. How confident are you rolling into New Hampshire?
I'll stick with cautious optimism. I've never been a fan of New Hampshire, not because it's not hard to drive, but it's just so hard to pass there, and track position is everything. You know, that was the case tonight. Even if I had been able to get out front sooner, I might have been able to do something. But in New Hampshire especially, though, where the bottom line just doesn't work unless you have fresh tires or you make the right moves, it's going to be one of those races you're going to have to play the right strategy in order to win, whether that be 2 tires with, you know, 30 to go, or it also just depends how many cautions too. But you know, and the main thing I was worried about was getting a good finish at Chicagoland, since 5 of the tracks are all pretty much 1.5 miles, and that's a good sign for the rest of the chase going outward.
And definitely, before we let you go, who makes it happen for you and the #1 crew?
You know, just all the guys back at the shop for giving us great cars every week. OR, Snap-on for providing those tools as always to tune up those engines. Bass Pro Shops whenever I want to fish. Energizer for all our battery needs. State Farm covering the car insurance, and AC Delco for the parts. And you guys for making this all possible.
Well, congratulations on a solid top 3 run. Good luck moving forward here in the chase for the championship.
Thank you, Evan.
That is Thomas J. George. Jacob, our third place finisher tonight.
Yeah, and he will maintain third place in the championship standings as well, leaving this event tonight as we get a quick look, just getting the updated points into our hands. Eric Brundys will take a 3-point margin, about as slim as it comes, over Adam Benefiel to round 2 of the chase at Loudon next week. Thomas J. George, 5 points back. Jonathan Cadell and Rhett McBride going to be tied for 4th. They are both 8 points back, so we've got 5 cars within 10 points. And the biggest number that I'm looking at down there, Evan, 44 points in the hole is Brandon Peterson, 16th in the chase standings. There are some guys who have big deficits to make up, but we got 5 cars who are going to make this a championship fight.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at those back 4 spots. Justin Wilson, Nathan Little, Jose Gonzalez, Brandon Peterson. Well, about a race away from Brundys, who sits at the top of the championship standings. But they're gunning for Jason Lester. That's P12. That's the final spot to at least survive these first 3 races. Wilson only missing that by 1 point. Nathan Little back by 8. 10 back is Jose, and 14 back is Brandon Peterson. They're going to be gunning for Jason Lester these next 2 races. That's really the cutoff for those guys. If you're one of those guys up front, you're still looking for a win to just lock yourself into that next round and punch your ticket.
And oh, by the way, if one of those 4 wins a race, then it changes everything. But the other big thing coming out of tonight in the points, looking at the non-chase standings from 17th on back, John Higman Jr. with the win moves into the best of the rest, we'll call it. He picks off the 17th position in the championship standings, picks up a win. That's the most important thing, Evan. Final thoughts from Chicagoland. I thought this was a very entertaining opening race of the championship.
It was, and these guys have really stepped it up these last few races where we've seen the aggressive racing, we've seen the exciting racing where we've had the pit strategy come into it, and not with sacrificing good racing. We've seen the side-by-side battles, only 1 caution, and I think you said it was about 108 laps of green flag to the finish there. You can't ask for much more, and oh, by the way, again, those guys coming in here to spoil it, non-chase competitors, just going to make it even more interesting rolling forward at it tonight.
Yeah, it is. We're about ready to wrap it up right now. So, as we close from Chicagoland Speedway tonight, want to send our congratulations once again to driver the number 64, John Higman Jr., picking up his 19th career RSR victory tonight. That is 2nd all-time. Higman grabbing the win. Eric Brundys taking the championship lead to round number 2 next Monday night at Loudon. That starts at 9:30 p.m. Eastern right here on LSRTV. So until then, for my broadcast partner, Evan Pasoko, and our executive producer, Laura Lawson, I'm Jacob Seelman. Race fans, keep it off the wall. Until we meet again, and we'll see you next time on the web. Until next Monday and on LSRTV for tomorrow night's Asphalt Assault event, good night, everybody.